And we are recording with the one and only Dr. Stephen Soloway on Friday, August 25th, 2023 at 2:35 p.m. Eastern time. And Dr. Soloway's book is in the description, both books. And I'm wearing the shirt for his book, Medical Politics. And I'm going to tell a very, very quick story. Then we'll get into it. You can probably turn around so you can see the back of the shirt. Can you see it?
Oh, awesome. Love it.
Okay.
Love it.
Okay. So the viewer can look at it. It's just a normal shirt. Fits actually great. Medical Politics in the front, your face in the back, your book, blah, blah, blah. And at the very, I think, top left corner, it says Trump. It's something like you were in Trump's whatever.
Right,
Just
right. I was in the Council for Sports and Fitness.
very tiny words. Let me pull up the picture just so I have it right now so I can look at it. Yeah, on the very back top left, if people look at it, it says member of President Trump's small. And then it's got the whole book. It's just a tiny little thing. Okay. So I went to CVS like the day I got it. I was getting a prescription. And I went there and it just been called in and they're like, hey, come back in 30 minutes, we'll fill it. And I was like, beautiful. Went to the store, grabbed some groceries, whatever, walked back in, and I'm just standing in line. And behind me, there's just this massive woman, which is whatever. I don't know what's going on in your life. You know, I'm not I got really fat after my brother died, so whatever. I'm not judging. And she's standing and I'm in front of her and she goes, could you please move forward a couple feet? She goes, I just in my personal space. And I was like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. In a public place, then in a fucking private store, I'm like, I'm very non-confrontational. I'll scream at people on the podcast, but real life, I'm very just water off a duck's back, just move on. I move forward a couple feet. And I know the girl at CVS now, so she's kind of looking at me smiling and she's feeling it. And then the woman behind me is going like, can I please like cut in line? Can I please get my prescription? I'm parked illegally out, downtown. And so am I. But that's a gamble you take. You park, you fuck. I bet I won't get a ticket. So you run in. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Whatever. But the woman, she goes like, "Sorry, I can only do one at a time." And he's first. And she's like, "Well, it's just I called in to make sure my prescription was ready. And some people walk in and you know they don't have it ready, and it's very it's inconsiderate." And in my mind, I'm thinking like, is she talking about me? Like, because no, like mine's fit. Like she's filling my thing. I'm standing there with my debit card. She goes, some people are inconsiderate. And I figured she was just yelling at someone else. And she goes, but what would he care? He's wearing a Trump shirt. And I'm standing there and I'm like, and I start, and I mind you, I hadn't looked at the back of the shirt yet. And so I'm thinking there's some like MAGA guy behind me. And so I'm looking around and like the CVS girl's looking at me smiling. And it starts to dawn on me. I was like, oh, this bitch is talking about me. And I can feel myself like blushing. And so I go up and I pay for the thing. And the girl goes, she goes, I'm so sorry. And I go, don't worry about it. And I walk out. And you couldn't have made a more stereotypical woman. That she's got to be pushing like 350, like a foot shorter. And I'm not a top 5'8". She's like a foot shorter than me. You know, the shaved on the side, neon green, piercing, tattoos up in the BLM, the Antifa sign. She's got like some weird, I don't know, like woven like purse, hairy legs, hairy pits, and she is just looking at me like a feral hog who's finally spotted some food. And I walk out and I walk back to my apartment. Or no, I get my card, didn't get a ticket. And I come home and the first thing I do is, so there's a mirror in the elevator. I walk in and I'm looking over my shoulder and I'm like, I just see your face smiling. And I'm like, it's just Dr. Soloway. So I come upstairs and I go to my apartment and I've got one mirror and then I've got like the medicine cabinet mirror so I can like look at an angle. And so I'm turning around. I'm looking at it. I'm like, it's just his book. I had big words, fibromyalgia. So finally I'm like, fuck. So I just take the shirt off and I look at it and I'm scanning it. And I'm like, where? And the smallest letters in the top left corner. And I was like, holy shit, like Trump derangement syndrome
Oh,
is
Tommy,
real.
you know something?
Yeah.
So there's been patients who've walked into this office, first time patients or patients who I've known for 10 years.
Yeah.
And this goes back to like, I don't know, 3 years ago. And they would see posters on the wall that simply said, um, book release coming soon, blah, blah, blah. And it would have the cover of the book and it would say patient information about X, Y, and Z diseases. And then it would say Board of Medical Examiners, President's Councils, Sports and Fitness, slash, President Trump, right? They'd say, I'm not your patient anymore. And I'd say, why? What happened? Well, you're friends with Trump. I said, what? What do you mean? What are you talking about? And they'd say, well, I saw it. It says, it says Trump. I said, it could say anything. It says I'm a member of a council,
Yes.
through the federal government. And yes, he's the president. Yes, I know him. Whether I'm friends with him or not, or whether I'm anything with him or not, what's that got to do with the fact that I saved your life 5 years ago and you were happy? Now
Yeah.
you're not happy?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand it. So yeah. And actually there was just the other night, actually, there's a buddy of mine who's opening up a sports memorabilia museum in Sicklerville, New Jersey. He's got like, I used to collect baseball cards. So this guy collects jerseys and cleats and bases and balls and bats and dirt and whatever. So at 11 o'clock at night, we both finish up work and rounds, and he owns the parking lot. So we pull up into this strip mall, and he has this, let's call it a 50,000 square foot spot.
Yeah.
And then there's like 5 other places that are like a pizza place, a nail salon, and a MMA studio.
Yeah.
So we're all the way to the left. It's night, the place, everything's closed. It's me, the guy, and his driver. Takes the key, blah, blah, blah. Some guy who's in a handicapped spot gets out of his car wearing his tighty whities. He goes, if you don't move your car, I'm going to have to mess you up. And I was like, excuse me? He goes, what are you guys, liberals? Are you guys Joe Biden fans? He goes, you guys need to take a hike, man. I don't like the way you're parking your car.
What?
And I'm telling you, people are just
It's
derailed.
it's feral.
It's crazy. The
It's
guy was barely even dressed. He was wearing his freaking underwear, and he's pulling up his like shorts, and he's got a tattoo. It says MMA fighter. I'm like, dude, your mom must be so proud of you.
yeah.
Why don't you go home and go to bed with mommy?
Yeah. No, I mean, my first thought was, of course you'd say you're on a Trump. It's not Trump. That's a very high achievement. You're on a White
Right.
House, right? I've had on General Spalding, Brigadier General Robert Spalding, former B-2 Spirit pilot. Now he's building these whole like 5G, 6G networks for the government, doing the defense contracting thing. Very smart. But he was on Obama's count. He's a super conservative guy. But on all of his stuff, of course, it says President Obama's National Security Council. It's not I'm on Obama. It's look at the highest level I attained.
Yeah.
I don't care if Joe Biden puts me on a podcast committee. I didn't vote for Biden. I think he's a piece of shit communist. I would 1,000% put that on everything. I would say served on Joe Biden's podcast. It's a highest echelon, but you have these people who it's a bowl and they see red, and it's horrifying. And yeah, but as you are a friend of President Trump, and because today is Friday, August 25th, I laughed so hard last night. I was playing video games. I was just scrolling through my phone, and people are like, Trump tweeted. I'm like, no, he did. And he hasn't tweeted since January 6th. He tweeted his mugshot.
Yeah,
What
I saw
as
that.
someone that is friends with him, what are your thoughts?
I looked at it. I saw how angry he was,
Yeah.
and he wants to let his friends know and his supporters know, like, I'm angry. I'm fighting.
Yeah.
That was the message. The
Yeah.
message is, all right, you don't want me to talk? I'll be quiet for now, but you can't shut my face and you can't shut my will, and nor should any of my friends, supporters, followers, etc.
Yeah. So
That was a very clear message to me.
yeah. What do you think is going on with him? Do you think how are the indictments going to slow him down? What do you think is happening?
Federal indictments, even federal trials and even federal imprisonment is not going to do anything to him, because the day he wins, he would pardon himself.
Hmm.
The only potential crisis would be if he were to be indicted in Georgia, where it's a state charge.
Yeah.
Then he'd be the president wearing an ankle bracelet but he'd
Yeah.
still be the president.
Yeah.
So if you get the most votes and you win, you win.
Yeah.
Um, you know, Sleepy Joe, he don't look too healthy out there. And sources tell me that sometimes when we see him on TV, it's not him. It's either a body double or it's a hologram. The only real thing you ever see of him is walking up the stairs falling, which is why they now take him in the back of the plane so people don't see him falling anymore. And I heard
Uh,
this from very, very reputable sources.
you're smart. So anyone else says that, I go, you're high. Body doubles is a very real thing. I mean, we've killed body doubles and it not being the real guy. That's very real. Um,
That's how sick he is. They
yeah.
can't even let him show his face. And by the way, another thing I've learned with very high confidence, he doesn't want to run. It's his wife. His wife is the real problem. That woman must be
Maniacal.
absolutely.
Yeah, Joe Biden's not there. I'm not a fan of Joe Biden, and that doesn't forgive him for whatever he has or hasn't done. But the current Joe Biden, he's not there. He reminds
No,
me of my
right.
late grandmother who passed in 2018. The final 2 years, she wasn't there. I would be there with her, and it would, short term memory gone. You just try to, we would, you'd have to kind of get her to eat because she wouldn't get enough calories. We're always watching the same movies, but you be there and you love them, and every once in a while you still see glimpses of the real person. They have the memories pop up, and they're like, "Oh, I remember." Like she remembers I'm her grandson, and you just be there, and it's very poetic. It's the circle of life. You were the baby, and now
Yep.
she is the baby, and
Yep.
you love her and you're there for her and you give her hugs, and you might have the same conversation 9 times in an hour, and that's fine.
Yep.
You be there for the and so I do feel for I don't like him, but that's not him anymore. He's not there anymore. That guy is effectively
He
dead,
died.
right? Yeah, they call it, right, dementia is like the second death. It's the long goodbye, right?
Yeah, yeah,
He's not
absolutely.
there anymore.
No.
So on a human level, I feel for him. I don't feel for the people who are using him as a puppet. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, and his wife is number one.
Yeah.
I wonder
That's
what she's getting paid off by Obama or Schumer or
yeah.
Soros or Pelosi or whoever is really driving the truck.
Let's get into that. Because she's not, I mean, I don't doubt she's an intelligent woman. She's probably an intelligent woman, like my mother's an intelligent woman. I don't think she is some geopolitical Machiavellian chess master. She's not
Agreed, agreed.
she's not deep blue. She's not
No,
yeah,
no.
she's not Fisher. She's not doing that. So who's behind her? Who do you think's behind her?
Soros and Obama.
Okay. And so effectively we could say that Soros and Obama and whoever their funders are the hand that is working through Jill Biden, that is working
Oh,
through Joe Biden, that are pushing these things on Trump.
100%.
Do you think again, you're an intelligent guy and you have sources. I always look at it this way. When you see the deep state, the entrenched power structure, the blob, the bureaucracy, the senior executive service, whatever you want to call it, when you see them acting the way they've been acting the last 2 years, I always look at it as one of two ways. It's the fourth quarter. There's 3 seconds or I don't know, 3 minutes left, and it's a football game. When you see him start doing kind of crazy stuff, Tom Brady, he's the star. Any quarterback always slides. They don't want to get tackled. They're the star player. They're worth $100 million. They don't want to break a femur. They always slide. They don't do stupid shit like running and getting tackled. If they start doing stuff that is, you look at it and that's not something you should be doing. There's one of two explanations. There's 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl, in which case, hey, go for it. This is so much bigger than your contract. You're about to get a ring. Or it's you are up by so much. You're beating them by 9 touchdowns. You're just fucking around. You don't care. So it's the same action with two plausible explanations. They're desperate. I don't care if I'm Tom Brady. There's a minute left. We're down by 3. I got to run it in. Or we're up by 50 points. I'm just messing around. Two explanations. One is desperation, and one is they have won so badly, or they've won so definitively that they don't care. What do you think it is? Is it the coup is so complete that they don't care anymore, or is it that they are like the woman behind me in CVS, a feral hog, uh, just acting out at anything around it.
The Biden supporters, who are the masses, who, you know, don't know which way to lick a stamp, those people are like the lady behind you in CVS, and you know, they are the masses. It is the way it is. The other people on the left, you got, they're starting to crack because, I mean, Trump's ahead by 90 points in every poll, and there's no question that, indicted or not indicted, or arrested or not arrested, the guy's going to win the nomination.
Yeah.
So I get worried, you know, that the CIA might try to take him out like they took out Kennedy. So I get kind of worried about that.
Mm-hmm.
And you just don't know who these insiders are. You know, these people that have this 9 to 5 job where they work 4 hours a day, and the other 4 they're kind of mysteriously in the bathroom or preparing for lunch or doing their nails or something. And so those people kind of worry me. You don't know what they're up to. You don't know really what agenda they're on, but they got to put in 25 years. So the question is, you know, where are they in their career and what is it they care about? And have they swallowed that Kool-Aid so long that they don't really remember what they really believe in themselves?
Mm.
As long as they stay long enough to get their pension, but they don't understand that if the country defaults on its debt, or if something really horrible happens, or if we have an all-out war in Taiwan, that their money's not going to be worth anything and their pension is valueless, and the government may shut down and may not even send out this type of money.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many scenarios that we could play, like war games, like, you know, interactively, and talk about this kind of stuff, and we can make up various scenarios that all make sense, but they all lead back to the same thing. One, Trump's way ahead in the polls. Two, people are dumb enough that they actually will vote for Joe Biden, even if it's a body double and even if he really died. I don't think they'd know or care.
No.
They're just told, here's your hot dog, here's your phone, you know, here's a set of checkers, and here's your, is it called Sudoku or
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
that one? You see the people on the back of the plane, they always have that book, and they
Yeah.
have a pencil, you know, and maybe it's even a number 2 pencil because they might be getting graded, but you know, that's all these people, they do. They're really the masses of, you know, that's all they're worried about. So as long as they know that blue guys win, if the blue team wins, we can still keep whatever it is, Section 8, Medicaid, and WIC, and we can get all our stuff, and everything is cool. Now, if the red team wins, oh man, the big red machine came out, and the blue guys, oh no, we gotta recruit, you know, better blue guys because we got to get our programs out. And of course, you know, they utilize the media, they weaponize the media, they weaponize the media to the masses, they weaponize social media to the lower class masses, like the guy starting in junior high school is getting brainwashed from 8 years or 8th grade on, because, you know, they need to separate the phone. They got to give people a phone again without all the games, because you can't be brainwashed all day while you're at school. That's like, you know, you're not so, like, you should be required to put your phone on airplane mode unless you have to call your mom, and that's it, and that's for a ride home from school, because all these other people like you and me who
Airplane. Every
are right,
podcast. Airplane.
love it, love it.
Turn that
But you
shit
know,
off.
but think about it, you know, all of us went to school and all of us did all these things, and our parents and our grandparents and their grandparents, they didn't have a phone. You know, school was over, you walk home a mile from school, and then, you know, when busing came, you know, you could have drove 5, 10 miles, but it didn't matter because you talked to people on the bus. That society, it broke down already. It's
Yeah.
completely broke down. You know, we got China, we got Iran, we got Russian and proxies of Iran. You know, we got uh, every group out there that just hates us and hates pipelines and hates productivity. And you know, the ice cap might sink by a quarter of a millimeter in the next 1,000 years, and therefore, you know, the gravitational forces are going to crash all the planes. And but nobody talks about the 2 Iranian ships that are parked at the Panama Canal that are loaded up with drones by the tens of thousands,
Hmm.
which have EMP,
EMP.
electromagnetic pulse weaponry, and they want to experiment like on the southeast coast of the U.S., like maybe Florida,
Hmm.
maybe nobody cares about Mississippi, nobody cares about Alabama, but certainly Florida they care about.
What about what about Club K missiles? They're the what are the Connex boxes, the shipping containers, standard shipping containers. There's something
Oh
called
yeah, yeah. No, every one of them is like a do-it-yourself, destructive device.
they're called Club K, so Club dash the letter K missile systems. And it's Iran and I believe China, and it's completely contained. I mean, you have the control unit, you have the missile launches, you get a tiny nuclear warhead on it. I mean, China bought up one of the largest shipping ports in Florida, like that. They
Again,
control
you
it.
know
They
what?
control what comes in and out.
We're talking about the same thing,
Yeah,
except no, we are talking about literally the same thing, except
yeah.
I did not know that terminology.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. So that's what's going. So I'm less concerned about the people screaming at CVS or playing Sudoku at the back of the plane. I'm less concerned about them. They're blue good, red bad, and vice versa. They exist on the other side too. Red good, blue bad. I'm less concerned about them. What I am concerned about are the people that are entrenched who have they're the people that were, you're talking about. So you have the idiots at CVS and the plane. The next level up are more intelligent people who maybe they don't really believe blue good, red bad. Maybe they kind of know it's a sham, but they're like, I got this job at, whatever. I've been at the SA for 14 years. I'm trying to get that pension. And you get even higher up. Maybe you're a director of something. Maybe you're whatever, like a secondary secretary. You're higher up, you might be a little more of a true believer, right? And maybe you're like you said, you've been doing it for so long, you forget who you really are, and you don't even know if you believe this anymore. But you've just been doing it for so long that you actually start to believe it. Your brain neuroplasticity starts just saying, "No, no, blue's good." You go, "All right, blue's good." And then you get to the highest level, which are they're not true believers in blue or red. They're true believers in whatever they're doing. Is it depopulation? Is it destruction of the West? Is it destruction of any white people? Is it destruction of any sort of homogenous society? The nuclear family. They don't like any of that. And they're very clear about that. I guess my question is, and I think it's probably self-evident, but I'll ask you anyways, like how far will they go? I mean, we saw in 63, they blew Kennedy's head off. With Trump, they did mail-in ballots. That's, as the comedian Tim Dillon said, that's the sweetest way the CIA has ever removed someone is by doing mail-in ballots. That was courteous.
Yeah,
They normally shoot you or your
you're right.
plane, like
Yeah, you're
Prigozhin.
you're right.
Normally something happens. Oh no, Prigozhin just, he was on a plane and it just smashed into the ground and they found his, burnt corpse.
Well,
Yeah,
who do you think's taken out all of Clinton's enemies?
yeah,
You think the guy drowned because he couldn't swim?
yeah.
You think Bill Clinton's going to be caught at the scene? No,
No,
that's another CIA job.
yeah,
They're all CIA jobs. Come on.
yeah. I guess the question is there's a reason why they still do it secretly, right? Because they're not Soviet Union, total power. There's no need to say who did that. It's the KGB. If it's the FSB, the NKVD before the KGB, they want you to know it's them. There's no was it them? No, no, no. They want you to know it's them. We're in
Yep.
control. We're gonna fuck you to death if you step out of line. The CIA, there's a reason why they still do it secretly. They do clearly value uh anonymity. They don't want to, they didn't want to shoot Kennedy. They don't want to. That was last resort. They would much rather something else happen in Trump, but no one cared about grab him by the pussy. No one cared about anything. So the last resort was all the election, all the counting stations are going to pause in the middle of the night. They don't like doing that. They don't want to be seen. They, I'm wondering how far out of the shadows are they going to step? Are they so desperate? Is it the fourth quarter that are they going to
They
do something
may.
wild? I
I
mean,
worry about that. They may.
the indictments are this is them reaching out of the shadows. They don't
Oh,
even
no
want to go
doubt.
this far, but they have to do this.
No doubt. No doubt. And
So
they'll
how
and clearly Fulton County is a great example. They're gonna try to basically rape 18 people to turn on one.
yeah, they're gonna do that. I mean, I think that they're dialing up this war in Ukraine. I think, there's a reason why we're arming up Taiwan, and I don't even necessarily put on a, in a vacuum. In a vacuum, I don't give a shit about Ukraine. I do care about Taiwan. There, even me, a 33-year-old biology major doing a podcast, I know the value of Taiwan. I know the value of fabrication centers. That will directly affect you and me, right? I mean, normally you see a war in a far off land, you go,
Well,
that will fuck us.
the reason that the reason that a failed Ukraine will affect us, Europe will destabilize. Germany, France, Italy, Spain, well, maybe not England so much. The other countries start to buy the oil from Russia.
Okay.
OPEC in Russia sets the prices. Then we don't have any oil supply. We're paying double and triple. The average guy can't use his car. The electric cars are too expensive, and so on. So
Fair
they
enough.
will, like if a Middle East war and a Ukraine defeat, that will destabilize the United States by
Okay.
proxy.
All right.
It'll take a month, not a day. Now, if Taiwan were to go down and 90% or 60 or 70% of our semiconductors are made over there, now we have no grid. We have nothing. And then I think what they're looking to create a little chaos, a little anarchy. And after they get us fighting with each other, and by the way, to your point, they're getting Americans to kill Americans.
Hmm.
When they do an FBI raid on a house, if it's unannounced in the middle of the night, everyone starts shooting. The good guy, the bad guy,
Yeah.
because nobody knows who anyone is. So
Yeah.
they're getting Americans to kill each other. So if you create that on a large scale by knocking out the grid, the whatever you want to call these electric grids with these EMP bombs
Mm-hmm.
or small nukes or whatever, you shut off the electricity and all of a sudden you've got anarchy and chaos.
Mm-hmm.
That's when these people come in with their kinetic weapons, their Tomahawk, their version of Tomahawk missiles, or whatever it is they have, bunker buster bombs, Moab bombs, and they start dropping them into the Beltway where the bridges are, and now you're cut
Mm-hmm.
off between Washington, Baltimore, Virginia's shut down, and you cut off the Pacific Northwest, and you destroy the pipeline so it can't be rebuilt in a day. Um, then what do we have? Then we have people who own bunkers who are billionaires. We have people who get frozen food with a generator. And there's not much left of society because everyone's shooting each other. And the other guys are out there laughing as they fly overhead and drop 500-pound bombs wherever they feel like it. Now, the flip side of me says, well, wait a minute. We've got, several hundred Minutemen missiles, and everybody thinks they're only in the Pacific Northwest, even though
They're hidden everywhere.
they're hidden everywhere. They're like in neighborhoods. They're like in Israel. They're everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
it could be in your backyard. It could be, you don't know. It's everywhere. So nobody's going to take out our entire nuclear armament, army. This is not arsenal. And all the submarines we have, and we have the quieter submarines, but these submarines have 20 missiles, and each missile has
It
10
has like 10
warheads.
MERVs. Yeah. No. Oh, a
Yeah,
single. Yeah.
so it's not like we can't flatten pretty much anybody at any time. And our laser technology, maybe it's lagging behind Israel and maybe it's lagging behind China. I don't know. But we still have these things, and the hypersonic programs. So we've got a lot of firepower. So I'm not even worried when they say, oh God, the artillery shells that are going to Ukraine are depleting our supply. Well, you might have taken away half our supply, but we went from 100 million artillery shells to 50 million artillery shells. We still have plenty of
Yeah.
shells, and we're still making them as we go.
Yeah.
They probably don't have room to store many more than 100 million at a time, so it's time to start selling them.
And it's not like we're just gonna go, oh, no more artillery shells. Guess we can't fight back. No, that is in itself an escalation. Oh fuck. I'm hiding in I'm barricaded in my house and I'm holding Dr. Soloway hostage, and they keep shooting their little taser stickers at me. And they finally go, that was the last taser sticker. It's not like they're gonna go home. Oh
Right, they're
shit.
going to
Now
shoot you.
now they're gonna grab the pistols, right? So
Right.
there's that, and there's always mutual assured destruction. And that is kind of the beauty of it is, I mean, we even tested, I think, in the 80s or 90s, launching ICBMs from 747s or C5 Galaxies. You drop them out the back, and you can launch a full size ICBM from a 747. And you only need one. You only ever need one. And yeah, each sub had 20 missiles, and they each break up into 10 MIRVs, and each MIRV is 10 times stronger than Hiroshima. So you're like 10 times stronger, and then you get 20. So that's what 200, and then, or sorry, yeah, 10 times 10 is 100, and then times 20. So you're looking at like 2,000 Hiroshimas from a single sub. And then we got a fleet of subs. So I'm not too concerned about that. That is the beauty of the beautiful terror, but beauty nonetheless of this system is there's always a revolver at everyone's head. What I am concerned about is we've seen throughout human history that people who want power and want to maintain power, I mean, I think it was it Sun Tzu? I don't know. That they would rather rule over a nation of ashes than lose. There are people that they anything to stay in charge. They don't care if staying in charge means they're in NORAD and the world is covered with cobalt and strontium 90. They're still going, I'm in charge. Yeah, I get MREs and I haven't seen sunlight in 3 decades, and the fluorescent lights are kind of getting to me. But I'm in charge, baby. They're sick. That's who I'm concerned about. Are the people that are going, you and I are going mutual assured destruction. But no one's going to do it. The guys in charge are going, oh, we got nukes. There's no further wargaming. They don't care. That's what I'm concerned about, is them dialing up Ukraine, them dialing up Taiwan, Niger, doing anything to stay in charge.
It's a realistic possibility. It depends how psycho people are. Depends how much you poke the dog. This guy Putin, he may be nuts, but he can't be stupid enough to know that he wants to die. He wants to be alive to rule whoever from whatever bunker he's in.
Yeah. I guess it feels like it's heading that way. Then there's also positive things. Like a year ago, if you had said Elon Musk would buy Twitter and you'd be able to post stuff again about the election or about, I mean, let's look it up. Tucker Carlson interviewing Trump. I didn't watch it, but I did
75
watch
million.
it was more than so. Let's look it up.
No, 75 million to 12 million. Tucker Carlson had 75 million, and the debate had 12 million.
Okay. Well, right now, episode 19, debate night with Donald Trump, it's sitting at 256 million on Twitter. Quarter
Then
billion.
it went in 24 to so hours. It went from 75 million to 224 million, and the other one was at 12 million when it was at 75 million.
So that's what I mean. Is like there are silver linings, and not just in the optimistic mind of a delusional romantic that's like, we're gonna get through it. There are tangible, like, that's insane. That's a quarter billion people.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Of those 225 million viewers, how many are U.S. citizens that are eligible to vote either legally or illegally?
Oh,
And
sure.
how many of them are going to get out there to vote anyway?
Yeah. And how many are for? No, I get it. Yeah.
I mean, if somebody has 225 million votes, they don't even have to go past half the country.
Yeah. Well, and then it's, how many are repeat people, how many are unique visitors, how many are people from other countries. But the point is that many eyeballs is insane. And the fact that is allowed. I mean, if this was a year ago, that would have been removed in 3 minutes. Would have said this has been removed for violating our TOS or terms of service, and then give you some bullshit, hate speech, questioning the results of the tour. I mean, I can still like name the warning emails I used to get from YouTube before they kicked me off. You are pushing claims that widespread fraud change the results of the 2020 election, or you are posting information that directly violates what the World Health Organization has said about COVID-19. And I mean, I used to get these all the time before they nuked me. That's a real thing I mean, it may be a little silver lining, but it's a silver lining nonetheless. The fact that was allowed to happen, you don't buy. I mean, you and I, the peons, we go, well, it's a private company, it can be sold and bought. Anyone that understands how any of this shit operates knows that there are much stronger forces behind this. You don't just, I mean, they tried to break up AT&T like in the 60s or 70s, and the DoD had to come in and go, no, you're not, because they were building all the secondary networks for the bunker communications. There are bigger forces behind these. Not everyone. I mean, I'm sure. Well, I don't know. Well, something like Netflix or Twitter or Instagram, These aren't just private companies where you look at pictures of chicks with fat asses. You can do that, and it's very good, and I will continue to do that. But this is communication. Of
Well, the
course, there are
reason
powers behind it.
the reason you're right is because if you were wrong, they already would have broke up Meta.
Yeah. Well, exactly. So these aren't just, oh, Zuckerberg started Facebook from a Harvard dorm. The end. That's not how it goes. This is what was in the 50s or 60s, the television in the living room. Who gets to see what? Vietnam was unpopular because for the first time ever, people were seeing what war actually was in the living room, right? In the 40s, it's just a black and white photo or a radio broadcast like we got the Germans on the run, and it was just that and the end. Now everyone can see everything. So my point of that whole spiel is someone somewhere, some powerful person or a group of powerful people are letting Elon Musk buy this and changing the way that billions of people communicate. That's not something that the deep state would allow, which tells me that somewhere there is a faction of good guys. I don't know who they are. I don't know how much power they have, but to let Elon Musk buy Twitter and let all this stuff fly. Clips of Rogan talking about how fucky the 2022 election was. They're getting closer. They're starting to move the Overton window again, where they're going, what really happened? People are getting a little, people are they're feeling their balls after they started going, where did COVID come from? And more people are going, yeah, where is it? All of a sudden, you don't get flagged anymore. If you say COVID came from a lab 2 years ago, like me, you'd get nuked. Now it's accepted that it has some unnatural mutations. Well, they're starting to, starting to feel themselves, and they're going, well, what about the 2022 election? People are starting to grow balls to start asking things that 2 years ago they wouldn't. That doesn't happen if the coup, the deep state, the neo-Marxists completely won. Something's going on. And to me, it's evidence that there's still hope and there's still reason to fight. I don't really know where I'm going with this,
Well,
but that's my
there's
point.
always hope because there's always a pendulum that's swinging. And when you hit rock bottom, you have to look up, and when you're at the top, you have to look down. And things are always going to oscillate back and forth, whether there's changes and shifts in power, whether there's changes and shifts in dynasties. Somebody will always be in power, and somebody will always challenge them for the power, and that's never going to stop. It's human nature. It causes death and murder and everything in the name of religion, power, money, and that can't stop. It's human nature. Whether it's good or bad is irrelevant because it's just a fact. Similar, off topic, but everything I wrote in my book at COVID about COVID, every word, every single word turned out true.
Hmm.
Why did I think it was true when I wrote it? It made common sense. There was just nothing that didn't make sense to me. It was so obvious.
Hmm.
But some people see the obvious more than others.
Hmm.
But I don't think we have to worry as much as the extreme. You see, the extremists really are good at riling people up and creating a lot of havoc. Not that there shouldn't be concern, there should be concern, but to think that there's going to be a world war, it's possible, but sometime down the road there'll be a leader, and that person will become hated, and whatever they rule, somebody's going to want, and whoever controls a land mass, somebody's going to want to take them out, and whoever's got the gold, somebody's going to want to steal it. So ultimately, it's all a big game of power, and it goes to the people with the most money and the most influence. And it seems to be that the smartest people stay out of politics and just donate the most money.
Yeah. Yeah. No. The smartest people go, I'm gonna live the private life, and I will covertly from the shadows just donate to them. I'm not gonna get out. See, I'm an idiot. I get out in the front of the camera. I'm the court jester. I've put my face out there, and I will inevitably die when my car mysteriously gets hijacked and I drive into a tree or there's a gas leak in my apartment. I've accepted that. I'm the jester. I've already made the move. I can't undo it, so I might as well embrace it. Smarter people stay behind me and recommend guests. They go, "Hey, interview this guy." They don't want to be known, right? And I'm aware of that. That's what smart people do. I'm just wondering how far I then there's a naivety in me that's like, well, Trump just might get so many votes that they can't do anything. I think that's what happened in 2016. I think they were actually I think they were taken aback. I don't think they knew he was going to get that many votes. I think they're like, yeah, Hillary's going to get it. And if we need to push a little here, push a little there, but she'll get it. I don't think they knew. I think that they actually had been drinking the Kool-Aid for so long, right? I mean, New York Times coming out like the night before the election saying Hillary has a 99.92% chance of winning, right? I think they were drinking the Kool-Aid. I don't think they knew what to do. I think they probably had like one or two contingency plans, but I think they were like, holy shit, Trump won. I don't think Trump knew he was going to win. In 2020, they were,
Although when he was asked years ago, would you ever run for president? He said yes. And they said, do you think you'll win? He said, well, I'm not running to lose.
yeah, I'm not. He goes, I never, yeah, I never go into something. Yeah, I've seen all the old 80s interviews where he's like, I'll only run. He goes, it's everything we're saying. He's like, it's a gross business. It's a disgusting business. I'll only ever run if I think that there's no one else who will do the job. And I think it was Oprah. Like, do you think he'd win? He's like, well, I don't enter things that I don't win at. It's just right. But 2020, they had every contingency. I would, I almost wonder what would happen if the fake ballots didn't work. Like, what was the third ring? What was the fourth line of defense? How bad were they willing to get it? I mean, who knows, right? What were they going to start shooting? What was going to happen? They're pulling out. So it's Friday, August 25th, 2023. They're pulling out all the COVID mandates again. School, I think yesterday, school
Yeah,
in
October is going to be a big
they're,
showdown for COVID again.
they're pulling out that pony again. But everyone's already seen that trick. So I was talking to my friend the other day. He goes, I thought they were at least. He's like, I think I was kind of. He's like, I figured they were going to do something for 2024 because I thought it was going to be airborne Ebola. He goes, why are they pulling out COVID again? And I'm kind of curious about that. How come they're pulling out that used trick before? Why are they? I mean, obviously it's for 2024, but why aren't they doing something new?
I was hoping that maybe they would do it to make 3M stock go up, and
Mm,
maybe they'd sell up 500 million masks a day,
yeah,
and they wouldn't have to be the lowest stock in the S&P 500 this year.
yeah,
Other than that, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Other than
election.
well, yeah, but it's all in the name of creating chaos and anarchy and having people get angry at each other.
Yeah,
It's about dividing the people the most clandestine way possible.
yeah.
You divide the people and we know what happens, but if you can divide them quietly and let them think that they are the problem, it's kind of like having software where I can send an email from you to your wife, you know, and make up a good story, and then you guys are, divorced because of me sending that email.
Hmm.
That's all our government does, is they're planting seeds so that other people fight, and they don't know that the other person had nothing to do with it.
Hmm. Are we looking at? So let's like zoom out even more. And this is always I always hate thinking about this because if the flag doesn't give it away, I love this country. Are we at the but let's pretend we're looking not like 20 years in the future or 50 years in the future. Like you look back and learn about World War II in middle school, you see all the black and white photos, like really far back, like thousands of years. And you can look at things you can look at old history in a pretty detached manner. Like, oh, the Assyrian Empire or Genghis Khan or whatever, the Mongols. You just kind of look at it and you go, the Roman Empire, Greek. You just look at it, you're not really tied into it emotionally. You're like, yeah, there it is. It's apex, and then it starts to go down, and then this happens, and you start to see the flow of empire. Are we at the natural decline of an empire? Is this just what happens throughout time and throughout geography, where it's not unique to America? You hit an apex, you hit decadence, you get complacent or arrogant, and then you start to decline. Is that just where we are?
So I'm going to say no,
Okay.
and I'll tell you why. Normally I would have said, gee, you might be right. However, empires that lasted 500 years or more, we're not even close. We're not whatever, we're at 250 years or something.
Mm-hmm.
But, thinking about this from a pragmatic standpoint, it becomes to me an issue of how do you bring back patriotism so people don't hate each other? And I think we have to start by bringing back the draft. And I think we have to not only bring back the draft, I think that of your 2 years that you have to be in the military, you need to spend a month at USS Arizona. You need to spend a month in Lower Manhattan at Ground Zero. You need to go out to Normandy and see why your ancestors and grandparents died. You need to go to Auschwitz and see what the hell went on there. And then you rile up these people and you don't give them a cell phone and there's no Twitter. This is your history lesson for 2 years to get you to be a patriot. And if we can bring back patriotism, we'll have the resurgence of the great generation. And we'll have people that when they go to war, assuming there's a righteous cause, we're gonna win on heart alone.
Hmm.
I think that's where the tipping point is. And if somebody in elected office is smart enough to have heard what I just said, I really think that that's the way to switch us from a woke, declining society to a newly formed, thriving economic force that not even China can come close to competing with.
No, I think you're 1,000% correct, and the people don't want to decline, right? On the face value, you go, it's working, and you know, men with tits dancing in front of children. You're like, this is some shit out of like the Book of Revelations. You're like, oh,
Right, but don't you think the people that think that way, all right, let's pretend, out of 100 of them,
yeah,
50 of them just have bona fide mental illness and they should be put away.
absolutely,
Okay, but don't you think that there's another 50 of them that are kind of on the spectrum, but because they're watching, Candy Crush or whatever game of the week is on, their brain is just
well,
literally melting
yeah,
away,
yeah.
faster than butter on a heated car roof. It's
No,
just
I'm with you. No, I'm with you. It's on the surface level, like Terrence McKenna would say, like the shimmering iridescence on the surface of a pond. It looks like it's the whole thing, but it's the facade. It's a veneer. But when you look at something when it's not manipulated, right? When you see X, Twitter, taking out all the bots to the best of their ability, and you can start to see just the natural, you go on Reddit, which I'm also permanently banned from, and it's everything is fat. Dude, I'm not kidding when I say I'm IP banned from Reddit. I've moved states now twice, and I'm still banned from Reddit. I can't get on. I know they hate me more than YouTube. I cannot. I can still make alternative accounts on YouTube and just kind of lurk around. Reddit they've got like my DNA. They're like, fuck that guy.
oh, I'm
That
so glad I'm so glad you just said that. They got my DNA.
Yeah,
80% of the US population is recognizable by facial recognition right now.
yeah,
And for the last 10 years, there's a underground group that has put together social credit scoring just like they have in China right here. And
absolutely.
and I'm glad you agree. But I when I was in Israel a couple of weeks ago, giving a little speech to a small group of people, one of the things somebody in the crowd said to me, well, it's really great that, there's such and such yeshiva and these Israeli programs and these underprivileged Jewish kids get to go to like, Harvard or Yale and this and that.
Yeah,
I said, well, honestly, I'm not worried about Jewish kids going to Harvard or Yale. I'm worried that we're letting Chinese people stay at these institutions. And I said, just because they pay for 4 years in advance in cash is no reason to educate the enemy because that's
absolutely.
absurd to me. But
I
but
know.
that's what's happening. There's whatever 350,000 Chinese. But here's the better part. The Chinese don't pick up and decide to move here. They're picked based on their credit score
Mm-hmm.
because the people that have the low credit score were the ones that were melted to death in their, under the auspice of COVID. They
Mm-hmm.
were welded in and burned alive, basically.
Yeah.
And of course, then there's organ harvesting. I hate to, it's fun that we like to talk about so many topics that we could
No,
talk
no,
about.
this is very real. Organ harvest, keep going.
Well, yeah, no. So if you have a low credit score, social score in China, and you're not a Muslim, you're going to go for organ harvesting.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a Muslim, you're going to be in prison camp, not death, because you're going to need to be organ harvested.
Mm-hmm.
And all that even comes back to the United States through the southern border, which is why we can't shut the border.
Mm-hmm.
There's too much cool stuff going on at the border, even though you and I think it's insane. And even though there's probably, let's see, there's 330 million people. There's 161 million people that agree with us, but there's 159 million people that think we're crazy.
It's no, it's the border is another thing where you look at it and it's like, so when you see Elon by Twitter, it's like someone gave the thumbs up, a powerful person or a group of people. When you look at the border, you go, all this is happening. Yeah, it's because the people in charge, they got something running through there. I mean, a couple weeks ago, I keep talking about, but I finally finished the book Dark Alliance by, I think it was Gary Webb, right? The guy who talked about the cocaine between, the CIA running it through the southern border to California to Norman Menezes, I think, and he's the guy that he became like the biggest coke dealer in his neighborhood, and then in his county, and then in his city, and then he ended up working with the CIA, and then we started using that to pay for the Contras and or against the Sandinistas and the Reagan administration. We were doing all that shit. There's a reason why it's happening. So when the cops would be like, "Why is there so much coke?" Someone would say, "Oh, I don't know. We can't stop it." Other people with a brain went, "There's a reason we're not shutting it down. There's a reason when that plane comes through, all of a sudden, none of the radar works. It's not because we're bumbling idiots and our shoes are too big and we're tripping over ourselves. No, it's because someone in the CIA said, 'Hey, don't fucking touch that. That's our money. That's what we're using to run this.'" So yeah, no. If it looks chaotic, there's a reason for it. They're running something through there. If the government didn't want people coming through the southern border, that shit would be shut down in an hour. You'd have the National Guard there. They'd be given full permission, the green light, full auto. They'd shut it the fuck down. Right? It's going through there. And that's exactly what's happening. Someone's making money off this. Someone's giving it the green light. And yeah, that's what's happening in China too. So back to where we read it. All that shit's fabricated. The stuff on the front page, 90,000 upvotes. And if anyone ever says anything like, "Hey man, I think it's kind of bad that grown men are twerking in front of children," you'll be downvoted, removed for hate speech. But when you have something that you just let run, let's say Twitter, that shimmering iridescence on the surface of, oh wow, everyone's a woke, transsexual pedophile. No, you actually start to see what the actual masses want. Everyone is like, what inflation's killing me. Everyone's saying, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? The mass of people, you can tell, they don't want the empire to decline. You have people that are going, but why can't we make this thing better? The overall majority of people are 1,000% for making this country better. And I guess that's my hope, is I know there are people just under the surface, and it's the bottom of the iceberg. They don't want this thing to decline. Decline it I think it was Jimmy Carter that was like, "Oh, we're a declining power," and I think didn't Reagan come in and say the quote, "Decline is a choice." Decline is a choice. I really do believe. Who knows? Maybe I'm I'm a brainwashed patriot. That's also a possibility.
I don't think so.
I really,
I think you're a smart guy.
thank you, sir. I really do think that the vast majority of people, I think the election was stolen. I think, you go to Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you say anything that's patriotic, banned. You question anything, banned. What's that other quote? If the situation was hopeless, their propaganda wouldn't be necessary. Right? The Soviet Union, they had that shit on lock. They can do whatever they want. The way they are acting now, the power elite, as Steve Wright Mills would say, they're not acting in the same manner as a confident. You see a confident guy, he's not freaking out. He's not trying to be the center of attention. He's not like, "Oh, I'm gonna change the media." He's not talking to every girl. If you see a confident guy, it's completely relaxed, ice in the veins. They're not squirming around. They're not being the front of attention. They know what they're doing. You see a guy, it's like, "Yeah, I'm taking that girl home and I'm doing it." That dude is like, "Oh, that he knows what he is," right? You see someone who's not confident, and they're out and they're buying drinks for everyone. They want to change the song. They want to dance. That's someone who is vying for power. And it feels like right now the power elite are There's no confidence. They're censoring, they're manipulating, they're trying to indict, or they have indicted Trump. Those are the actions of a scrambling, scared animal. And I guess that's my hope is the vast majority of people do not want to choose decline. I don't know.
I don't think anybody wants decline. I think that the people that are doing these horrible things are looking for more power, and they don't see that as decline. They see that as progress. They
Mm,
see that socialism is a good thing. They love the fact that they'll have all the workers wearing the same clothes, doing exactly what they're supposed to do. But unfortunately, they forget that when you socialize people, you take away their motivation and their productivity probably goes down by 80%. So you need 80% more people to do the same work as 10% or 20%. And that's the problem with the whole decline and the whole thought of socialism, communism, fascism, whatever it may be. I mean, the more you tax me, the more you hurt me, the less I'm going to be motivated to keep moving along. And then you get to, well, if you're rich enough, who cares? But if you're not rich enough, you either get more motivated or you become really angry and you revolt.
mm.
And if you're able to revolt and you're successful, now there's a change in power.
Because I've still got you for 29 minutes. Let's go to like the so we just zoomed out to like empire view. Now let's zoom out even more. We are at a very interesting spot in human history where you never want to kill off everyone, right? You got to have the pet. Who's going to build the pyramids? Who's gonna wave the the leafy branch at me? So who's going to feed me grapes? And as it goes on, it's who's going to be in the trenches? Who's going to be we need people. We need cannon fodder. Who's gonna maintain the city? You need people, right? You got to have people to praise you. We are at an incredibly interesting point where all throughout human history, even though the geography would change and the technology would change, be it ancient Egypt or be it, I don't know, 1700s Britain, on the surface, they're very different. But when you actually look at the power structure, look at the distribution of wealth, it's all pretty similar. And you go, no, you don't want to kill off everyone. But we're at a very insane point that we've never been at before. And it's automation and it's we're getting better with artificial intelligence. And I don't necessarily, I'm not going down the road because it's such a beaten road of, oh, AI taking over. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the ability to mimic a a blue collar worker.
Yeah, no, what you're saying is, and this is not
They don't need the people.
right. So the fact is what I think 27,000 jobs a day are lost to like every cash register job or toll booth
Mm-hmm.
job. All these jobs are lost, and it adds up. 20, 30,000 jobs either a day or a week are lost to a robot or some form of robot. And so you're right. We don't need all the people. And what happens next? It's a good question.
It's we've never been here. It's not like we can look back to the I don't know the we'll look at ancient Rome. It's not like we're looking back and we're like, well, what did Nero do once they had robots that they didn't need chariots anymore? What happened once they didn't have that. They had nothing close to it. And as AI moves on from just we've had automation, if you will, for a while. I mean, the Industrial Revolution, textile mills. You have a kid who's weaving 19 looms. That was the beginning of automation. As automation goes on and on and on, I mean, it's getting weird. We now have automation and things you never thought you would have had. You type into AI, I feed it a couple pictures of you and I go, show me Dr. Stephen Soloway tap dancing on the body of a dead rhino that was shot by Tommy. And it would in a second. And I'm someone who before the podcast, I spent 3 years learning Photoshop. That would take me like a commission like that would take me probably like an hour, 2 hours, working as fast as I could. In a second, boom, high resolution photo. It's not perfect, but it'll be you in a ballerina costume dancing on top of a rhino, and you'd have me smiling next to it, taking a knee, dressed as like the safari guy from I don't know, Jumanji. And you go, what the fuck? And you change it in a second. You go, actually, no, I want Dr. Stephen Soloway frozen in a block of ice that Tommy is putting in a glass of gin as he gets a blowjob from Marilyn Monroe, and she has a tattoo of a reptile on her left ankle. In a second, we're approaching in a weird, weird spot where you go, oh shit, it's now removing art, which we've always looked at as like, oh, only humans can do that. I, I don't think they need us, man. I don't think they need us. And as I look at that more and more, I go, they're probably just going to start killing us off.
Well, did you remember the part in my book where in 25 years doctors are going to be obsolete?
So in college 10 years ago, it makes more sense now because we're kind of here. But I was a crazy person in college and I'd be talking about the same stuff. I'd be like, AI is coming, automation's coming. And they'd be like, dude, we're at a football game. Just shut up and drink. And I'll be like, the revolution's coming. And and no wonder I didn't have friends. But like, I would always joke that, I want to be a doctor, I want to help people and all that stuff. But I'd always say, I want to be a doctor because that's the last thing AI will replace. And I would joke that, and if AI replaces me as a doctor, I've got much bigger concerns than finding a job. It means that it's the end of humanity. And that was my joke. And no one would ever get it. I'd be like, oh, I want to be a doctor because once AI replaces me, it's the end of the world. And they're like, what the fuck does that even mean? But if you walk it out, that's exactly what it was. I always looked at being like a neurosurgeon, like a brain surgeon. I was like, that's what I wanted to do. And I was like, that's the most difficult thing. That's the last thing AI will replace. So I was like, so if I do the most difficult human job, I will be the last thing removed. And then by the time it removes me, if you're you cashier and you lose your job, you go, oh, fuck, I gotta go, I gotta go become an accountant. But I was like, by the time it removes that, it's Terminators in the street. I think we're kind of getting there.
Yeah, quickly.
Yes. Which then brings up the next question. Okay, so once we're there, why wouldn't they kill people off?
Who said they wouldn't?
Well, that's what I'm getting at. Is that going on right now?
Of course it is.
The depopulation agenda.
Absolutely.
Can you flesh that out?
Start with COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, we could start before COVID, but it was my belief from the get-go that to get rid of the Hong Kong protesters, the Chinese didn't want to be seen as savages coming out with tanks, so they released a little old virus, and after they killed enough protesters, they were going to save the day. Problem is, things got a little out of hand. They said, you know what, this is a beautiful experiment. We don't have the hot air balloon ready yet with bio warfare. So let's just shut the border for planes flying west and north and let them go east to Europe and the US. And they killed a lot of people. So yeah, that's population control at its finest. And I mean, the Chinese are a step ahead. You can only have the one kid. I think now recently, maybe you can have two if you're a two PhD family or something like that, because that's double the spies they're producing. I mean, they have a 100-year plan, not a 25-year plan.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
they got to keep their people having babies for some period of time. Now, you don't see anyone jumping up and down trying to repopulate Japan, even though that country is going to be doomed because there's more old people than young people and not enough people having children to maintain the population. So whatever, in 50 or 100 or 150 years, it won't be a Japan because there won't be any Japanese people left. So, either way you look at it, whether it's warfare, either experimental or purposeful, whether it's laser or whether it's germs, chemicals, whatever, bioweapons, whether it's population control by the government, whatever way you want to slice it, every one of them is the same answer. Get rid of people because we don't need so many.
That was the very first episode I did of this podcast was December 12th, 2019. The first topic was Hong Kong protests. And it was like, how are they going to disperse this? Are they going to come in with tanks?
They can't because nobody will do business with them.
And that's what we were talking about is we're like, well, you can't do that shit anymore. Like, Yeah, it'll look so bad. So like they're gonna do something, and then
Yeah,
as the episodes progressed and started hearing about COVID, that's what's so weird about this podcast is it's like a found footage movie, one of those like like the whatever the Blair Witch Project. You look back and you can just see we're like, what is this? Where's this coming from? Do you think it was for Hong Kong? And then just the whole arc of COVID. I think that's what it's probably going to be. Is they're probably going to release more and more lethal viruses. They probably are pushing for World War III because of this. They want famine. I mean, this is shit out of a sci-fi book, but it's happening.
true. Very true.
What is
I
there to
mean,
do?
well, well, again, we have to start in this country by reinstituting the draft, and we have to make people patriotic and fight back. Because once you have patriotism and you have people that have heart, that's what created the greatest generation. Okay, you have immigrants that come over from Europe in the late 1800s to like 1910, 12, 15, and they have nothing. They're hungry. They all start a bakery or a laundromat or a this or a that, and they all make it so their children can get educated so the children don't have to work so hard. And those children grow up, they become doctors, lawyers, accountants, and Wall Street bankers, and they become really wealthy. And then the really wealthy, they say, we don't want our kids to struggle. So every kid has a new Mercedes when they graduate first grade. They have a cell phone coated in diamonds. And now all of a sudden we created the lazy generation. Well, now that we're stuck with the lazy generation and we see how dramatic and how horrible the lazy generation can be, it's time to reset the clock and say, okay, all right, we got all these little people that came over from Europe. They started our society, they made the society, they gave birth to the great generation. Well, now that the great generation is sort of died off and the lazies are kind of here and the more lazies are coming like right now, how do we reverse the cycle? And you have to reset the history of the country by saying, all right, look, we got to show you what things looked like before we were this superpower and nobody needed whatever and everybody was hungry. You got to make people hungry again. So you make them hungry by saying, all right, Shohei Ohtani, you're going to have to go in the military for 2 years. Mike Trout, you got to go in the military for 2 or 3 years. I mean, what are you different? Are you any better than Ted Williams was or what? Let's be serious here.
Fair point.
Um, Everyone, whether it's me or you or who, unless you got a disability, you need to learn about patriotism. And I mean, this is the only reason Israel survives or is surviving their own current chaos. I had the opportunity to speak with a general. The guy had a month to train like 800,000 dummies. And he knew they were dummies because half of them never heard of Jerusalem and the other half never went there. And then of the ones that had been there, they didn't know the importance. So for his training, he brought them all to Jerusalem and made them learn what the importance of defending your land is all about. And then all of a sudden, he had good soldiers. We don't have anybody that wants to fight. I mean, we don't necessarily have a reason at this second to send an American soldier to anywhere this second. But in 5 seconds, we might. But those people, they could be shooting each other. It wouldn't matter to them. We need to have people hungry, right? Everybody needs to be hungry. If you're hungry, you're motivated. Of course, it's rhetorical, but socialism can't work because everyone is lazy. And our system, I won't even call it capitalism because I don't know what our system is anymore, but
Yeah.
our system of being hungry and, to the victor goes the spoils. The only way to bring it back, and by the way, I'm not like a warmonger and I'm not a big
Sure.
guy who wants to be involved in the draft and all that kind of stuff. But if that's what we need to save society, and it's a reasonably easy thing that's been done, for generations and decades and centuries over the years in various places, if that's what needs to be done, then that's what needs to be done.
I think that's probably what the answer is, and I know I'm a huge fan of that. I'm like a massive fan of that. But for me personally, I always have this like I can't say that because I never served. But the reason why I'm still a fan of it is the guys I do know my age who went and served in Iraq, older guys who served in Desert Storm or Vietnam, or, former Delta Force guys or CIA ground branch guys. I mean, Black Ops shit. They also say that. So I'm a little more comfortable. I feel a little hypocritical saying it. I'm like, everyone should do this. What did you do, Tommy? I'm like, well, I didn't do that. So, but because
Okay,
they say it,
well,
I'm more
okay,
comfortable saying it.
but in all fairness, when the day I turned 18, my mother took me to the post office to sign up for the selective service. You have to still
Mm-hmm.
do it
Yeah,
from 18 to
18 to
25 years
26.
old.
Oh yeah,
Most people though that are 18, they don't even know it exists anymore. They haven't prosecuted somebody for that since either 1986 or something like this. But point is that when I was 18, there was no draft. That doesn't make me less patriotic. It means that the country decided that they were sick of war and there just was not a physical need at that moment. I mean, sadly, and this is not against, I don't want to be mean to people that are serving the country, but a lot of the people that are currently serving the country are using it as a homeless shelter or using it as a psych ward. They're not
sure.
doing it because they're patriotic. They see a free meatball sub and that's it.
Well, that's also a massive part of history, though, right? Is 3 square meals.
Yeah,
It's and that's
but
a
it
huge
shouldn't
part.
be the sole reason to go,
No, of course not. Of course not. That is what a lot of people do, though, and it's they go, well, fuck it, they're gonna pay for this, they're gonna give me food. I get it. No, I understand that. I grew up in. For me, I guess my personal hesitation for it, like I agree with it 1,000%. It's just like my own life, growing up in a nuclear family with incredibly loving parents, growing up in a fucking gated country club, going to private school. For me, I always have to check myself a little bit. It's like I lost a brother to suicide. And when I hear people that are like suicide is the most selfish thing in the world, like I do agree with that. But having gone through it now, part of me is kind of like, shut the fuck up. Right. And then I realize, oh, everyone's got a thing that is their thing. Like you don't know what it's like to, I don't know, have a miscarriage. You don't know what it's like to, whatever, your dad raped you. And it's like, shut the fuck up. Part of me is like, I know rationally that I don't know. I mean, the life I grew up with, I mean, I grew up in a Norman Rockwell painting. I really did. So I have to be like very cognizant of that when I'm like, everyone should be drafted, right? Although I agree with it, I 1,000% agree with it. For me personally, I'm like, but I don't know if I'm the one that can like rally that.
it's not a matter of being the one who has to rally it.
Sure.
It's the one that has to be able to say, it makes sense,
Oh,
and
it does.
things are spinning out of control. And listen, if you're lucky and you grew up in the Norman Rockwell painting, and I'm lucky and I grew up when there was no war, okay, fine, at different points in history. But
Sure.
we're at a point in history now where if the question is, how do you reset the clock? Um, that's the only way that I could think of to reset the clock to make people patriotic and stop letting people hate America. And the other thing would be, and I actually forgot about this, but as much as we are a free country, um, we have to be a little bit less free when it comes to letting foreign nationals in the Congress and places like
Oh
that where
yeah.
they
Oh
can be
no, I'm with you.
destructive.
Yeah,
This
bat
is
him out.
hard. I mean, this is horrible. You have people literally in Congress that hate and despise the United
Ilhan
States.
Omar is a fucking terrorist.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. But the whole jihad squad, all those
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
there's like five of them,
Yeah.
or five plus one, three plus one,
Whatever
whatever
the
it
fuck
is.
they are.
But the point is, so this is why, people can make fun of Joe Biden, and I will too. And people can say Jimmy Carter sucked ass, and I would too. But Barack Obama was the worst president we ever had because we allowed a flagrant Muslim in the White House who opened the Congress to people that hate America, absolutely hate. I mean, look, Iran has a nuclear bomb. Why? Because Barack Obama paid $150 billion to build it
And $33 billion in
in
bullion.
gold bars. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
know what? They probably could have had one sooner if they bought one from Pakistan. But because of their own diligent research and their hatred for the West, that and a few bucks, and they're as armed as everyone else. Most people don't know it, but they are.
Yeah. I'm with you. You try to do this shit in any other nation. and you'll be thrown the fuck out. I'm with you entirely. And people scream fascism. I really
No,
do.
I mean, we have fascism. You're right. We do. We have the illusion that we own something. We don't own crap. George Carlin was 100%
Yeah,
right.
yeah. You don't have. Yeah, you don't have. Yeah, you have owners. Yeah, it's a big club, and you ain't in it. They call it the American dream because you got to be asleep to believe it. No, that was a great rant. Um, but I think that I think we're coming to something where it's what did it say? Like, make a change now while it's your choice, or the change will happen in the future and it's not your choice, right? As you just kind of fall more and more and more. Like after my brother died, and yeah, I had just gotten into medical school. I was in great shape, hot girlfriend, had savings. I was a weird kid. I started investing in the stock market when I was like 16. I had my parents open an E-Trade account for me because I couldn't legally. I was investing in Apple, and I was working summer jobs, and I was like, I love iPods, and I think I quadrupled my money, as like a 16-year-old. I was a weird kid, right? I was reading about the singularity is near and the progression of AI when I was 18. A very fucking weird kid, still a weird person, but as this shit would sort of just go on and on, right? So I was just doing everything right. After my brother died, I just got fat as fuck. I was on benzos, I was drinking, I was on cough syrup with long hair, I was unemployed, I fucking hated myself. I was so angry at everyone. I was so angry that my brother killed himself, and I just hated everyone. I became a horrible person. And all the while, there was some part of me in the back of my head that was like, you need to turn this around because as your life gets worse and worse and worse, like what you're gonna have to eventually do. You're gonna have to stop doing drugs, you're gonna have to start dieting, you're gonna have to get a job. And as you descend lower and lower, your choice on how you do this gets more and more narrow. And I eventually hit the bottom where there's one of two choices. Okay, so are you gonna kill yourself now, which I almost did, or are you gonna move home with your parents? And at 26 years old, I moved home with my parents. And my girlfriend broke up with me, and I don't blame her for one iota. I lost all of my friends. I've maybe regained one of those friendships. Those are all friendships that, in hindsight, I lost. They had every right to stop talking to me. I was a piece of shit. I had to get sober. I had to do therapy. I had to start going to the gym again. And I'm still dieting, and I'm still climbing out of that hole. I didn't make the choice when I still had different choices. I got to the very bottom and there's two choices. Kill yourself or you got a long way home. You got to go home with your parents. And for 5 years, from 26 to 31, I lived with my parents. I had no fucking friends. I had a shit out of a nightmare. All right. You go home and visit your parents for 3 days when you're in college. You're like, I'm ready to leave. I was there for 5 years. My point is we're going to a point where the choice will be made for us. Do we reinstate the draft? Do we reinstate some sort of love for America? Or do we go into a kinetic war with China, which will reinstate the draft and reinstate a love for America? We're reaching a point where the choice is going to be made for us. I don't know what's going to happen.
We've educated the enemy, so the deck is stacked a little bit against us right now.
What do you think is going to happen? What are your predictions from now to 2030? And then we'll wrap it up.
Jeez. If you said now to 2060,
Okay, now to 2060.
all right, there's going to be a major world conflict, war, whether it's nuclear, kinetic, um, chemicals, germs. There's going to be some ginormous catastrophe where half the globe's population is probably killed off. There's going to be a new world order, and it's not going to have anything to do with China or the US. I don't know if it'll begin in Africa. I don't know what exactly is going to be. They allege the safest places to be during these conflicts would be New Zealand or Australia, Africa, places where there's just not a lot going on. There's not a lot of wind going by. There'll probably be a global currency. There'll probably be some mixed leadership of 12 different tribes of 12 different countries of 12 different families, etc. Most people will be related to each other somehow, And 10 years after that starts, you'll get divorced, you'll still be brother and sister, and you'll still hate each other, and you'll still have a family, and the same cycle will start all over again.
I think if I had to, there's either going to be a massive resurgence of nationalism and nuclear families, or the elite are going to use the acceleration of technology to genetically engineer and then uh, technologically, you know, I don't want to use the term cyborg because it sounds so stupid, but sort of start to merge with the machines. They are going to break off into and I know that now it just sounds like I'm smoking bath salts, but I mean, if we're looking at the 2060 and with exponential increase in technology, they're going to merge with machines. They're essentially going to become an unrecognizable species of super beings with super intelligence. And probably, I would imagine, much like a cell going through mitosis, they are going to break from the earth. But whether or not they'll stay on earth, I don't know. I think they're going to become something that is not even human. It's just going to be intelligence in some form or manifestation of technology that we can't quite see. And the only realistic way to look at it would say humans came from the trees. They stood upright. Number one, they used their thumbs. Number two, and they started agriculture instead of nomad hunting. We have been in this entire section, this epoch. I think we're at the end of one. And I think the new thing coming will be as unrecognizable to us as a civilization was to humans who were walking on all fours in the forest. And I know that sounds batshit insane.
No, because by having so much artificial intelligence and having robotics, it'll allow people or robots to live on the moon or Jupiter or wherever
Yeah,
humans
yeah.
can't. It won't, oxygen won't be as important or water won't be as important as long as the elements that are required to allow machinery to get around however it does, solar power, whatever, that's how it'll function.
Yeah. I think it will be unrecognizable. So it's either going to be, again, as Terrence McKenna said, the archaic revival, where you reach back in history and you find a system that worked and you bring it into the future, which is kind of what I've done over the last couple of years with the podcast. Is I reached back and I was like, where I am now, fat on drugs with my parents, isn't working. I reached back and I was like, what did I do in college? Woke up early, went to the gym, had a goal, worked hard towards that goal. That's what I'm doing with the podcast. It's I'm not getting into medical school, but it's essentially the same system. Wake up, work, wake up, go to the gym, meditate, work all day, go to sleep. It's my own archaic revival. We are either going to do that or we are going to, I mean, like something dissolving into dust. We are going to become, or someone is going to become whatever, we're Homo sapiens. They're going to be Homo galaxis, Homo solaris. They're going to break from our own solar system, and who the fuck knows?
As long as they have pizza, soft ice cream and hot fudge, and a good burger, I can cope with it for a little while.
That's the third option. Is we are going to all be sedated into a form of brain dead sludge where we just play Candy Crush all day. We are just constantly we have a little moving tray in front of us, and it's just McDonald's, Sonic, Taco Bell. We're gonna have little different injection ports into them. You can touch one, whatever you want to feel. Valium, Adderall, alcohol, Xanax.
All right, so one question.
Yeah,
I'll take your scenario at face value and say, you know what? I agree with you. But here's the one question. Who's going to pay for it and what's going to sustain it?
automation powered by, I don't know, nuclear fusion.
Okay. I
That's my
accept.
You
I
accept.
accept your answer.
All right. Well, let's end on that note. It's 3:59. I'll let you go a couple seconds early. Dr. Soloway, I fucking love having you on here, man. These are
Yes.
I genuinely look forward to these episodes.
This was a great,
This was fun,
great,
man.
we really had a great one today. We
This is
really did.
fun. These
You
are
know,
my favorite ones, dude. They just branch off into everywhere.
so if your listeners haven't hung up on me after this show, they really need to buy each of my books. I mean,
They
seriously,
absolutely do.
guys.
They do.
I mean, look, it's just badmedicinebook.net. If you don't want to pay me, just buy it on Amazon. I won't get paid. But if you buy it from me, you'll get a signed copy. I'll make it out to you. I'll personalize it. I'll
He
write
will.
whatever you want.
He
I'll
will.
put it to your girlfriend's name, whatever you need.
He will.
And honestly, you will like my book. I assure you. If you don't like my book, mail it back and I'll give you your money back. I may send you a nasty mail, but you'll like my book.
He will. And those links are in the description. I can tell you because I have them right to my right. They're out of my reach and I'm not going to grab them. He will mail them. I asked him to write, Tommy, you're my fetish. You know what? I got a book in the mail. I opened it up. I said, no fucking way. Sharpie, Tommy, you're my fetish. Dr. Stephen Soloway. I laughed my ass off. He will fucking do it. The links are in the description. Please go support Dr. Soloway. Dr. Soloway, I will shoot you an email. Let's schedule another one, however far out we want to do it.
Yeah, love it.
I look forward to these episodes too. I genuinely love them.
You're a cool dude, man. It's always a fun couple hours with you. Absolutely.
Fuck yeah. Dr. Soloway, thank you so much, sir. Let's wrap this one up. Guys, thank you so much. Please go into the description. Please go support Dr. Soloway so that he can keep coming on my podcast. Thank you, sir.